And good morning, everybody. Welcome to WPAFW 2020's Hot Pepper Roast. My name is Quuxum. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the opening, Manic. I'm going to switch over to my camera. Hello, greetings from the beautiful East End of Pittsburgh. I am here on my front porch, socially distant from pretty much everybody except the neighborhood cat and River Sorch Cat, who's still asleep. You'll be seeing her later on today as she talks about her novel Grey Dawn. So yeah, I am Quuxum. My pronouns are she, her. You will probably know me as Slide Rule Skunk. Don't need the slide rules today, though. Speaking of the neighborhood cat, he's right behind me. There he goes. He'll probably be appearing a few times. It's not ours, he lives next door. But today I'll be discussing hot peppers and you. Hot peppers are a beautiful thing. They are easy to grow. You can grow them in a small pot, you can grow them in a garden, anything. And they're just a really great flavor, and they all have a whole different range of flavors, whole different range of heats. Today, we'll be doing the Hinkle-Hots pepper. I'm going to be showing you the Hinkle-Hots right here, in fact, as I switch over to my document camera. There you are. Those are several different Hinkle-Hots peppers. A lot of them. In fact, they grew from these plants right here. They've been on my front porch all summer, and as you can see, there's quite a few ripe ones already there. You'll be seeing those shortly. Oh, sorry, I think my stream cut out briefly there. My apologies. I think we're better now. Good. So we've got our Hinkle-Hots here. The good thing about the Hinkle-Hots is that they're small, they're easy to work with. They got a nice, sweet, and tangy flavor. They got a good amount of heat. They're very comparable to a cayenne pepper on the Scoville scale. One problem is they're very small. And cutting them takes a good bit of time. The thing is, so I only have a half hour. This took about 90 minutes to cut. Luckily, I have a supercut for you, showing you how I did that yesterday. Here goes. And thus, that container of Hinkle Hots, which sits before you. Now that said, we got all these, but I can demonstrate these, at least one of them, live. I'll set these aside, and I'm going to pick one live, right here. I seem to lag a little bit as I move my laptop. I don't know why that happens. So let's take a look at one of these. What's a good one? Here's a good one right over here. There you go. You can tell it's not a very big pepper. It's actually implicit in the name. Hinkle Hots is this type of pepper. It's a capsicum annuum, which is a overarching species of many other peppers. Your bell pepper on many of the hot peppers are capsicum annuums. Your really hot ones, like your Jolokia, ghost peppers, Trinidad scorpions, and Carolina reapers, those are capsicum chininense, aka Chinese peppers. They're a different species altogether. I'm not going that far today. I'm just going to use the Hinkle Hots, which is an Amish hot pepper. You don't think of the Amish as dealing with, hot foods like that. But it is, and the traditional uses of the Hinkle Hots are for making hot vinegar and for canning, and it is very good at it. I'm not going to be doing that because the way I prefer to do it is through roasting them and basically making them into spice. And the spice turns out very beautifully in all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do here, take this Hinkle Hots. By the way, Hinkle Hots is itself a Pennsylvania Dutch word, which means chicken heart. It's about the size of one, I assume. I've never actually seen a chicken heart. Seems legit to me. I'm going to wash this off. I have 3 little bins here of water. This first bin has a little bit of unscented Castile soap. I just use Dr. Bronner's baby unscented soap. Tiny amount. You do not want to totally suds it up. I don't recommend using any of the scented Bronners either if you go that route. You want to taste of pepper, not peppermint. So I'm going to wash that off in one bin. I'm going to rinse it off in the second bin, and then rinse it off in clean water in the third bin. So there we have a pepper. And we're going to cut it. But you got to prepare yourself for when you're cutting a pepper. Oh, do you have to take preparations. I myself am using a mask. I'm going to tie this up right now. This is not as much for smell as it is just for general face protection. Now this is good because we all have masks now. And I think I tied mine too tight because I've gone very nasally. Oh well. I'm also going to use a little bit of eye protection. It's actually getting a little bright here. So I'm just using sunglasses that wrap around most of my face. Because remember, peppers tend to have a lot of water in them. And water, with all this hot capsaicin in it, while you're cutting it, could easily splash into your face. If it gets into your eyes, you're going to have a bad few days. But most importantly, after all of that, you need gloves. Latex, nitrile. There's another one. I can't remember what it is. Polypropylene, I think. I don't know. But yeah, you gotta glove up when you're working with hot peppers, because capsaicin on your hands will lead to very, very bad times. Because it doesn't all wash off in one go. Even if you're like washing your hands with soap and like even aloe soap. I think I've lost my document camera. There we go. If you're doing this with soap, you're still going to have capsaicin on your hand for quite some time. I've done this before. Don't do that. You're going to be feeling the burn on your fingers, especially under your fingernails, for several days afterwards. Wear gloves. In fact, I was wearing gloves all through that video. In fact, I was taking them off very carefully, putting on a new set. I went through 9 different gloves in there because one of them broke. Now, Dr. McCamera. There we go. And after I'm done, and I still do, I feel just the tiniest twinge underneath my thumbnail, even with gloves. All right, let me just make sure that I'm still live. We're good? Okay. Here goes a cut. First thing I'm going to do is cut the stem part off of it. There's a nice little stem there. Just realized I still have a little bit of soap on that. Get rid of that. There we go. Now with these ones, I kind of like to do something like a butterfly cut, which is to go down, right down the center, and expose the entire pepper. So the general structure of a pepper is that you have your fleshy bit right on the outside, and then your seeds will all wrap around a center portion, which I forget the name of, right about here. One thing that I always like to do is I always save my seeds, because all of these peppers that you saw, these are all descended from plants that I bought 3 years ago. I have always saved the seeds. These are all grown from seed, and I haven't bought a Hinkelhaus in 3 years. They are all descended from the 5 plants that I bought some years ago. Excuse me a moment while I readjust my camera. There we go. So with the Hinkelhaus, this bit right here comes right out fairly easily. If the pepper is ripe, it comes out fairly easy. If it's not as ripe, it's not as easy to come out. Again, I'm going to cut along here and scrape the remaining seeds right on out. There you go. There's half of it there. Put that in the bin. go over here to this other side. Just sort of scrape this off. I may not have the best technique. Oz and Rikedu, if I have bad technique, go ahead and criticize me. They're professionals. I am not. Oop, there we go. Don't worry, I sanitized the table before I started working. There is a nice hunk of Hinklehat's pepper that I put back into this bin. Now I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring out a little bin, a little pad here. I have here just your regular plain old toaster tray. Come on, document camera, you can do it. There we go. I like this document camera, but oh God, sometimes it does that cutout and it's annoying. I'm going to pour out a fair amount of the Hinklehuts here. And by the way, this is exactly why I'm doing this outside. I'm going to run these all over the pan. This one still has a little bit of flower stem on it. Got rid of that. There we are. Now over here, just off camera, tell you what I'm going to do first. I'm going to slowly, carefully take off this glove. And I'm going to move this laptop over to here. Hopefully you can see right here is my very old toaster oven. So I take this glove off very carefully. This toaster oven is extremely old, and I have it right now preheated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason I have for 200 is I want these to roast, but I don't want them to char. The sugar in them, in the Hinklehat's pepper, it's got a reasonably high amount for a capsicum annum, and it will caramelize just a little bit. Later on, if you wanted to do this at a higher temperature, like around 250, yes, it will go quicker, but it will make it smokier. But you can use any pepper for that. A cayenne is excellent for that sort of thing. By the way, don't go out and get a brand new toaster oven for this purpose. You're going to be wasting your money. Use like an old toaster oven. If you don't have one, find a garage sale or find a thrift store. Get an old one for 10 bucks or less. Make sure you get a tray for it that's extra cheap. And open it up and put it in. Now we wait 8 hours. And that's why I'm going to be back here several times throughout the day. Now there's one other consideration, and that is why I'm doing it outside. Because as those heat up, they're going to evaporate the water that's in them, but part of the capsaicin will go along with it. If you do this indoors, you're going to have a bad time indoors because you're just going to end up pepper spraying yourself. Don't do that. Do it outside if you can. Unless you have some really good fans in your kitchen, do it outside. All right, I have about 8 minutes left in this section. If anyone would like to ask me some questions in the chat, I would be happy to take them. I would be happy to take questions on the cultivation of peppers, hot peppers in general. I am not the biggest expert on hot peppers. Hopefully I can see the chat in, let's see. I'm trying to see the chat in both my channel and the WPAFW channel. And I'm going to switch over just to my camera. Yeah, as you can see, I still got quite a bit. I'm going to save these for another roasting, probably tomorrow. Put them back in the fridge. Who is that said AJ Firewolf? Yep. I understand that completely, yeah. Takuai, I hope I said that right. Do I grow anything other than peppers? Actually, yes. Over here I grew some pole beans. It's actually the first time I grew pole beans. I just had them on small poles here. They came out okay. I got about 5 harvests worth of like really good beans. I don't think I'm gonna get any more. There's a few of them. Like here's one right here that looks pretty good. Here's another one here that looks pretty good. But all in all, I think this one's done. It looked pretty good. I think I may have I had 5 plants in here in kind of a smallish basket. I think I had too little dirt for it. So I'm probably going to do beans again next year in this bigger basket that I have my Hinklehots in this year. And I'll probably just do Hinklehots in the 2 smaller baskets because I just have so many of them. Box McCloud, you said delicious. They are. Sebastian, that weird restaurant Tamari where Marcella is now I used to have very spicy chocolate cake. The Thai restaurants, they definitely are, they don't mess around when it comes to heat. I think they use jolokias, which are ghost peppers, or a reasonably different cultivar of Capsicum chinense. But yeah, they are seriously hot. What else do we got? Any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat. Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to the Garfield Community Farm over in the Garfield section of Pittsburgh. They are where I got the original Hinklehots. I'd never heard of them before then. And then my friend there, John Creasy, who I went to college with, he told me about these, and I was hooked. After I grew them, they were very easy to grow, very tolerant of a lot of things. The only thing they weren't quite tolerant of is fungus. That really isn't that big of a problem. I lost half of a plant this year because of fungus, but it wasn't that bad. But yeah, I have loved them ever since. I've kept them going, and and it's not a very commonly used pepper, so that's why I love to grow it as well. Over in the corner, I have Anaheim peppers as well, which are not as hot, but one thing I accidentally hybrided Anaheims with Hinklehots from last year. One grew this year, turned out to be really delicious. and it had a little bit. It was a little bit bigger, but it had the reasonably the same level of spice as the Hinkle Hots, and I think I might want to try that for next year. Uh, Leon, speaking of sweets and peppers, what kind of sweets would be best with peppers? Ah, good question. I personally don't do sweets with peppers, or at least I don't make any. I have done, I have had like a scorpion pepper lollipop, which was just weird. But otherwise, I haven't done that myself. Maybe Oz or Ricadu could say something about that. Utterly silly. When do you start planting peppers for the season? It varies. I actually have started two of them already. I had two in small, well, not small, but regular size, um, transparent cups filled with dirt. I started two Hinklehots in those and two Anaheims in those, and I'm keeping those on the kitchen windowsill all winter long. And they're not going to grow that much over the winter, but they will develop a very strong root structure and stem structure, and that will get them a quite a bit of a good start for next year. This one Hinklehots I had right here was one that I started from last year. These other ones, I started these kind of late. These were started, I put the seeds down in, I think, late March, early April. I would think you would want to start maybe mid-March if you're going to do it from the outside. Hope that answers your question. Box McLeod, I think dark chocolate tends to go with chili peppers. And AJ Firewolf says a spicy chocolate bar is pretty good. Leon, I know there's a chocolate bar that has ghost pepper oil in the bar. I think I've had that as well. It's kind of better to use a really dark chocolate for that, I think. Anyway, it is already 11 o'clock, so I believe Puzz is coming up next, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyway, I will be back here 2:55 to show you how those are coming along. And I will be also back here, I can't remember, later this evening, and we're going to see the final product. Anyway, take care of yourself. Puzz is next. Go visit our charity, Tazal. That's the Awesome Spirit of Wildlife. They're doing amazing work. And I will see you later. Bye for now.